Okay, we're back for part 2. So part 2, we're actually at number 6 here. This is on the back of the paper. We skipped number 5. We'll see if we have time to get to it. All right, number 6. That looks kind of complicated right there. Well, let's go ahead and see what we can do with that. You got 3 fractions, 3 denominators. To get the LCD, we first want to make sure we have factored everything in the denominator. X minus 3 is factored. However, x squared minus 1x minus 6 is a trinomial. We can factor that into 2 binomials. So on the side, we're going to think, okay, what multiplies to negative 6? Yeah, I'll put it up here. What multiplies to negative 6 and adds up to the middle term, which is negative 1. And let's see, if you say 2 and 3, positive 2 and negative 3, that's going to be the combination. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. So this is x plus 2 times x minus 3. Now I'm going to just kind of shade that out, just so I know that I've already dealt with it. All right, so now let's look at the denominators. X minus 3, x plus 2 times x minus 3, and then x plus 2. All right, so the LCD has to contain all of your factors. We need to have an x minus 3. The second fraction, we need to have an x plus 2 and an x minus 3. I already got the x minus 3. Let's put the x plus 2. I'm going to put that in front. And then we've also got the x plus 2 for the third denominator, but we already have it as our LCD. So this is what we're going to use right here. All right, so this is going to get a little messy. We are going to multiply the left side of the equation by x plus 2 times x minus 3, the LCD. We're going to multiply the right side of the equation by x plus 2 times x minus 3. Now I'm going to write it out. This is kind of a long problem, so you have to be patient with this. Take your time with it. I know you don't like to write things out, but it's going to be easier to see the relationship if you do. So we're going to distribute x plus 2 times x minus 3 times the first fraction, which is x over x minus 3. All right, then we've got a minus. The LCD is x plus 2 times x minus 3 times, that fraction was 7x minus 6 over x plus 2 times x minus 3. Okay, equals 2 over x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. I'm kind of running into the next problem. That's okay. We'll get to that later. All right, so now's the fun part. Now we get to cancel out common factors. So we can divide out in the first fraction, x minus 3 divided by itself is just 1. Now what that leaves you with is x plus 2 times x. And what happens there, we can distribute the x. X times x is x squared. I keep doing that, x squared. X times 2 is positive 2x. So out of the first fraction, all you're left with is x squared plus 2x. The fraction is gone. This is good. Okay, come to the second term. X plus 2 divided by itself is 1. X minus 3 divided by itself is 1. Now what this is, that's minus 7x minus 6. Think of that as a negative 1 times 7x minus 6. So I'm going to distribute. Okay, so instead of minus, I'm going to write that as plus a negative 1. Distribute the negative 1 so it changes the signs inside. That becomes minus 7x. Negative times negative becomes positive 6. So there's the left side. Equals the right side of the equation. We can reduce the x plus 2's. All you get is 2 times x minus 3. I'm going to distribute the 2, so that becomes 2x minus 6. All right, let's simplify on the right side here. You can combine the 2x minus 7x. We get x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 2x minus 6. Now this is a quadratic, that's an x squared. I'm going to move everything to the left side. So I'm going to do that by subtracting 2x from both sides and adding 6 to both sides. So we get x squared minus 7x plus 12 equals 0. I want to set this equation equal to 0. Now, we can use quadratic formula, A, B, C. You can use the calculator. I am going to factor this. So what I'm thinking of, two binomials, two numbers that multiply to 12, the constant, and I'll do it on the side, that add up to negative 7. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now I need them to multiply to positive 12 and add up to negative 7. So I could do negative 3 and negative 4. Multiplies to positive, and negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7, so there's my winner. This is x minus 3 times x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now we're not done. You got to take each factor and set it to 0. X minus 3 equals 0, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. And we'll solve. We'll go plus 3. We get x equals 3. And then plus 4, we get x is equal to 4. You have to be careful. This is why you always check your answers, because we've got two solutions, and they may both work, but we have to make sure they do. If we take a positive 3, that was the first solution. If I go back to my fraction, my original fraction, there's a problem. Because if I put a 3 in here and I do 3 minus 3, I get 0 in the denominator. So there would be a 3 up top, but I would be dividing by 0. You cannot divide by 0. That's impossible. So what happens is that this answer, x equals 3, is no good. You cannot use it. It doesn't work. That kind of answer is called extraneous. It's an extra answer, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. We didn't do anything wrong. We got 3, but 3 doesn't check in the original equation. So you always have to check. Fortunately for us, if we decide to check the 4 is going to work. Okay, as long as you don't get a 0 in the bottom, you can never divide by 0. In this case, the 4 is going to work. So if you want to check that, you can. So even though we got two solutions, only one of them is an answer. Okay, so that's it right there. Number 7. Now there's two ways we can do this. If you look at that, you may look at that and say to yourself, wait a minute, that's a proportion. We can probably cross multiply to solve that. If you want to, you can do that. You would do 5 times x squared minus 1. You can do 15 times 2x minus 2. However, before we do that, I do want to look at the factors to see if life could be a little bit easier for us. 2x minus 2, we can factor a 2 out of both of these terms when we get x minus 1. So this is 5 over 2 times parentheses x minus 1. And then this one here, x squared minus 1, we can factor that. That's a difference of 2 squares. That's x plus 1 times x minus 1. The reason why the LCD is going to be a little bit nicer in this problem is because you have to have the 2, that factor. You have to have the x minus 1. And then you have to have the x plus 1. Okay, but I don't need to repeat x minus 1 again, because I already had it from this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the left side of the equation by 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. And since I'm running out of space here, I'm just going to write this for both of these. Okay, so let me come down here, I'm going to write it out. So I'm going to take 2 parentheses x minus 1, x plus 1, that's the LCD, times the fraction on the left, 5 over 2 parentheses x minus 1 equals, and then I'm going to take the right, which was 15 over. I'm going to write the factored form, so not x squared minus 1. I'm going to write x plus 1 parentheses x minus 1 times the LCD, which was 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1. Okay, again, it looks messy, but let's go ahead and reduce the common factors. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X minus 1 divided by x minus 1 is 1. Notice that gets rid of the fraction. That's just a 1 in the denominator, so we can ignore that. And we'll multiply what's left up top. The 5 will distribute, and we get 5x plus 5 equals, on the right side, the x minus 1's reduce, the x plus 1's reduce, and we get 15 times 2, which is 30. Oh, that's pretty nice. Minus 5, now it's a regular equation. 5x equals 25, and then we divide by 5, and we get x is equal to 5, and if you check it, that is going to be the solution. Okay, so that's good. If you had cross-multiplied, let me just show you what happens. Let me rewrite the original problem. It wouldn't be bad, but what you'd get here, you would get 5 times x squared minus 1. Now I'm going to distribute it, 5x squared and then minus 5. 5 multiplies both. And then 15 is going to multiply the 2x minus 2. So equals 15 times 2x is 30x, and then minus 30. Because of the quadratic, I would move everything to the left side. I would subtract 30x, and I would add 30. Now what we'll get is 5x squared. There's nothing to combine with the minus 30x, so it's just minus 30x. And then negative 5 plus 30 is positive 25 is equal to 0. Okay, now you might be thinking, okay, to solve that, I want to factor it. I can do slide and divide, but actually we can make it even easier. Each of these is divisible by 5. So I'm going to pull the 5 out, which is going to leave us x squared minus, divide that 6x, and then plus 5 equals 0. Here, I'm going to come down here. I can factor x squared minus 6x plus 5. What multiplies to 5 and adds to negative 6? I can do that on the left side. The only factors of 5 are 1 and 5. So to multiply to a positive but add up to a negative, we'll make it negative, negative, negative 1, negative 5. So what we get is x minus 1 times x minus 5 is equal to 0. Solve x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. Those are the factors. So the answers are positive 1 and positive 5. Now notice what happens though. If I go back to the original equation, if I try to plug in a 1, I end up getting 1 minus 1, which is 0. I get a 0 in the denominator. That's not possible. That solution is no good. The 5 is going to work. Okay, so there's two ways that you can get it. In this case, I think the LCD might be a little bit nicer. I don't have to factor like I do if I cross multiply, but it's up to you. And that is the end of the notes.